I said to Kelly, you really need to come out to Zilani and see grassroots African dance.
That was the first time we actually saw Sipe and his brother on stage. Really little guy. He was one of the smallest, youngest kids on stage. You just couldn't take your eyes off of him. You could just tell he was most alive in front of an audience. And Scott and I kept looking at each other saying, like, are you seeing this? Like, who is this kid? He's amazing.
When people see our performances, people are very gracious and they want to help. So when they offered their help, I remember thinking, well, does she mean a pair of ballet shoes? Does she mean food? How's this going to work? Never imagining, to the extent of her help.
We just got to know Sipe more and got to understand that at the age of 10, he really did have this big dream to become a professional dancer. And we knew that we were lucky enough to live in a city where Canada's National Ballet School is. I did call and ask them questions, and they were just so open to this young boy to audition. So we put it to Sipe and his family and said, if you want this opportunity, we'll be your Canadian family. If he gets accepted, then he's got us to live with.
Right, energy in your hand, you know what's about to happen. And.
Performing in Holland was magical. Being there with all the kids from the school, sharing that moment all together. It was just a glimpse of what my career as a dancer could be and what it could mean for people from home to see me perform on a big stage.
I think he identified with them somewhere in himself. He understood something quite profound, and Black people knew that he did.
He ended up being somebody that was the most effective attorney general maybe ever in terms of promoting civil rights.
Bobby really said, look, we got to do this. We got to make this happen. We got to go all in with these people because this country is not going to be anything if we don't go all in with them.
Bobby expanded the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice. He demanded that government recruit more Black employees. And he convinced his brother, the president, that civil rights was the defining domestic issue of their times.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened.
He and his enemy, Lyndon Johnson, collaborated on getting that bill passed. Johnson couldn't have done it without Bobby, and Bobby couldn't have done it without a Southerner like Johnson backing it.
He stayed there mostly for the Civil Rights Act of '64 and wanted to pass that. And when that passed in July, he started thinking about the next step.
Bobby resigned as Attorney General in September 1964, shortly after announcing his bid for the Senate seat of New York. Finally, he was launching a political career of his own.
Ultimately, he decides that he wants to continue in public service, but he wants to do so in a new way, and he needs to do it on his own steam.
He struggled a little bit. He understood how to be the guy behind the guy. He didn't understand how to be the candidate. He talked a lot about his brother. He used some of the same gestures as his brother. And in a lot of ways, I think he saw that campaign as a way to honor his brother's legacy. And some of his aides were telling him, you have to speak your own mind.
It wasn't until the middle of that campaign, when it looked like he could be the first Kennedy ever to lose an election, that Bobby started pulling it together.
On November the 3rd, 1964, Lyndon Johnson was re-elected president in a landslide. That same day, Bobby Kennedy won his race in New York.
He believed that poverty was one of the biggest problems that the United States had been experiencing. So he started to look at ways to affect that.
Bobby Kennedy set up a model program, a model anti-poverty program in a place called Bedford-Stuyvesant, the biggest ghetto in America in Brooklyn, New York, just outside of Manhattan. That became the model for Lyndon Johnson's famous war on poverty. No senator was more effective in promoting an end to poverty and an end to racial injustice than Bobby Kennedy.
What we know about Black women is that we're doers. So over the span of 10 years, from 2002 to 2012, Black female entrepreneurs grew their revenue 104%. 104%. Over 10 years. It's unprecedented, it's unheard of, and that just speaks to the work that we're doing in our communities.
From day one, the Lip Bar was fully funded by me, and I worked for a year and a half while the Lip Bar was still operating. It really made me feel empowered to know that, you know, I didn't necessarily have to seek out funding to do this, and I was able to really work with what I had to get my dream and my vision started.
We're not getting the funding that a white counterpart will get. The banks are not as excited to give us money, you know, so it's our money, our own money. We're not, you know, we're not building our restaurant off other people's money, whereas a lot of our white counterparts can do that. And so it's harder for us, and it seems like that most Black businesses are doing it on their own. They are pooling their money together or, you know, digging into their savings. And, you know, we want a piece of that pie too, so that's what we're trying to figure out. You know, how do we get some of that money?
The first time I ever heard of Shark Tank, we were doing a pop-up with Harlem Fashions Row. Everyone is coming to our room because, you know, when you see someone with blue lips coming out, it's like, wait. And then when you see multiple people with blue lips, it's like, what's in that room? So a producer from Shark Tank walked into that room and said, here's my business card, you should apply for Shark Tank. I had never heard of the show. So my creative director for the Lip Bar, Roscoe Spears, decided that we would apply, and 3 months later, here we are on Shark Tank. I was so taken aback the fact that they weren't even really willing to talk to us about business. From the second that we said we were a cosmetic company, none of them were interested. Instead of actually talking to us like the business owners we were, and we are, they complimented our dresses. They said we would never get market share from the big guys. They told us that these blue and purple lip colors, you know, number one, were unattractive, and that if the bigger companies wanted to do those colors, they would do that and then crush us like the colorful cockroaches that we are. Crush us like the colorful cockroaches that we are.
One of the many reasons we're not getting the financing we need is quite simple. We're being overlooked because in most cases, people lend money to people who look like them.
Part of it might be we gotta get in front of the right people, but I also do feel like it is a racial thing, you know, about resources being available to us.